and welcome to the first True Blues podcast. I'm Johnny and I'm joined by Kieran to discuss anything and everything Chelsea related. This episode is going to be the first of a weekly series reviewing the previous game or games of the week and looking ahead to the next fixture. If you do enjoy what you hear, please subscribe to our channel, stick us a like or a thumbs up, and follow us on our social media platforms, which will be in the links in the description. So Kieran, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Could be better, obviously. Bit of result today.
How did you think the game went?
Not great. Like, really, Southampton, of all the next upcoming fixtures, they're the team ideally we should be comfortably beating, and we didn't look very impressive. What did you think about the game, mate?
Absolutely. I think we'll touch on it a bit later on, but I feel like you've previously mentioned, this was a good opportunity for us to sort of one of the easier games in our running, sort of keep the momentum going into those more tricky games. Especially, we're obviously just recording after the Liverpool result. If we got another 2 points there, I think, would we be 6 points ahead of them? 5 or 6 points ahead of them? And that would have been a perfect little sort of buffer to have between us and...
Yeah, it would have got us, obviously, a point behind Leicester and United, who are still yet to play this weekend. So, yeah, like you said, the Liverpool result was a bit more positive for us. Obviously, we're hoping... Now, I never thought I'd say it. We're hoping West Ham don't pick up any more points over the weekend.
They do have Spurs tomorrow. I think they've got Spurs tomorrow, haven't they? So that
be an easy
could
win
go
for
either
them,
way,
then.
really.
Should be an easy win for West Ham. Obviously, as we progress and more listeners and more people we tune to show, they will very much understand, particularly for myself, but I know also for yourself, that we hate Tottenham, essentially.
We do hate Tottenham, we do.
Everything about the club and the play, particularly obviously off topic before we get into the game analysis. One of the reasons I hate Tottenham, did you see the picture of Eric Lamela this week, where he's got a mid layer underneath his coat and he's zipped the two together because he doesn't know one zip from the other? That just sums up Tottenham, doesn't it? Like, you get to the final stage and you just don't have a clue what you're doing. Perfect. So
very well put. I think he's probably he's my least favourite Tottenham player as well. To be honest, he's just a terrible bloke. So couldn't have happened to a better bloke.
Yeah, it couldn't have done. Yeah. So a lighter note onto what will probably be some scathing analysis of a few people coming up shortly.
Yeah. So I think we do have to give credit to Southampton before we launch into the performance of Chelsea. I think Southampton, they did set up pretty solid, didn't they? And they did perform quite well.
Yeah. Very well taken goal from Minamino. Liverpool obviously must be regretting now they can't find a goal to save their lives, and Minamino's got 2 in the last 3 games, so 2 in the last 2.
I think more than he got for Liverpool. I think.
Yeah, he got 1 in the cup for Liverpool, and I don't remember him scoring many others. But yeah, they played well. They set up solid. Obviously, they've got some very good players. They've had some very unfavourable results, which reflects poorly on how they play. But like James Ward-Prowse, another solid performance from him. Obviously, Minamino taking the goal well. And I personally think if Danny Ings would have had a game like most games he's played this year and played a lot better, was a lot more clinical, like made better runs, we would have been in a lot more trouble than we were.
Absolutely. He did have a quiet game, didn't he?
Yeah, and then just sort of, I thought, even with our substitutes, but for them to bring Che Adams on that late after Ings doing a lot of nothing for the whole game really did us a favour. If Che Adams could have changed the game maybe a little bit for them if he was brought on 15, 20 minutes earlier, but obviously you stick with your main guy, your top goal scorer, one of the top goal scorers in the league this season, in Danny Ings, and he just didn't provide a bit of much, and it was overall just a very average game from both sides.
Yeah. I felt like, that being said, sort of our defence didn't really have too many problems to deal with, as you touched on. Like with Danny Ings, didn't have the best game ever, but I still wasn't impressed with some of them, to be honest with you. I was a bit sceptical before the game when I saw Zuma in the starting 11 in that sort of centre back role, and he kind of proved me right a little bit. I thought defensively solid, but every time he just got the ball, it wasn't 1-2 touch bang. It was 1 touch, look up, or I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'll take another touch. and then he would end up taking 4 or 5 touches.
Yeah,
You could
yeah,
see when
definitely.
Jorginho came on, he was encouraging him to just bring the ball up, but I don't know. I think Christensen, Thiago Silva is obviously the best at playing out from the back. I do think Christensen isn't bad either, and I think that centre back role does suit him because he gets a lot more protection because he's physically and defensively not that great. But yeah, I was just a bit disappointed with Zuma today, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. The same with you. I get very skeptical when I see him on the ball. I don't really know what he's going to do with it, like how much I can trust him on the ball when playing at the back with Rudiger as well. Another player I don't really trust on the ball. He seems to just highlight each other and being very unconfident on the ball. And there's only so much you
Yeah,
can ask from Azpilicueta to do on the ball, but it really does show now. And it's a shame to say because obviously he started the season so well, Kurt Zuma, that was he sort of babysat and protected by Thiago Silva the whole time when Frank was in charge. The back four
absolutely.
was his inability to move the ball and his inexperience in getting caught out defensively. Was it just hidden by the fact that Thiago Silva was so good and was so consistent, which worries me that, like, say we lose him again to an injury, obviously we've got to be realistic. He's 35 years old. He'll be losing a step every game that goes on. The more fatigued he gets, the older he gets. He's not going to last forever, realistically, and it really doesn't look
No.
promising for Kurzuma that he playing a game starting without Thiago Silva looks like an entirely different player already. So yeah, I
I
agree. He
think
was
that's very well put. I mean,
yeah
I said
downside
before
to
the
the team.
season, he's not a top 4 centre back. And then he did prove me wrong. Did have to eat a little bit of humble pie. But like you said, is that because he was paired with Thiago Silva, who just made him look better than he was? And we went through that brilliant spell. But yeah, I personally think I don't know. I think he's like he could play for a mid-table Prem team, but I don't know if we could win a title with him at centre back.
Yeah, but it just says a lot about him that how many years ago was it we signed him? 2012, 2013. We originally signed him,
Yeah,
and he's been out on loan to Stoke. He's sat and just rotted and not played for us. And he's played well. And don't get me wrong, when he was at Stoke, he was playing quite well. He was linked with a move away, but it really does just show now that we need to sort of look for a top class centre back. And obviously, the bad news this week, obviously, we were linked quite heavily with Upamecano from Leipzig, and he's been confirmed to be going to Bayern at the end of the season. That's a blow. But then potentially, does that mean Alaba is available to us, and we're gonna have to battle out with Real Madrid to get his signature? And it's
yeah,
just all these different things weighing up that we need another experienced elite centre half. And obviously, I know Alaba has played fullback, centre half. He's played in midfield, but like we could use that
yeah,
versatility. And if you think about the problem we highlighted, he can't play out the back. Rudy can't play out the back. Thiago Silva can, but obviously he's getting on a little bit. Like if we got someone in like Alaba, who was a fullback originally, moved into midfield, moved to centre half, he can move the ball about.
yeah,
He's set piece taker as well. Another one I think that is like imperative for Tuchel to look at now. To we need a player like that, and then if that means Rudiger's got to go at the end of the season, Christensen's got to follow him as well, and we keep Zuma when we switch it up a little bit and throw him in a back four. I think Zuma can't play in a back three or a back five because it's so much more spread out with our centre backs
yeah,
being the main point of defence. He doesn't have that full back support that he normally got. And I always found when he played on the right hand side, when Reece James obviously had that quality start to the season, he did a lot of covering for him. Like he covered
yeah,
2 or 3 extra miles a game, just like covering behind Zuma just in case.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So sort of moving up higher up the pitch into the sort of midfielders and wing backs. I particularly also wasn't that impressed with Alonso. For he sort of dillied and dallied around with it a bit too much. I don't think he was awful, but it just he took a bit too long on the ball. Wasn't really putting any crosses in. I don't know. For me, I'm just still not sure on him.
Yeah, it's it's another thing where like he looked quality. He scored that goal in the second game of Tuchel's reign, and he's in the squad. And like, don't get me wrong, he has his positives. He can be quite good on the ball, going forward, particularly no matter when he's in and out of the line forward has always been his strength. Defensively, he's not there. But yeah, he took too long on the ball. There was an incident around about the 75th minute, right before the substitutes happened. Obviously, we'll get into our double substitution in the 76th minute. A certain man coming on at halftime and coming off, but like there was a situation where he was just dribbling. He come inside, and you could tell he wasn't confident on his right foot. So he went back out, then he went back in, went back out, and just passed it straight into Gneppo, who I thought personally was the best player on the pitch all day.
Yeah, I thought him or Salasy. I thought that Salasy was very good as well.
Yeah, obviously I know the pundits gave Salasy the man of the match, but for me, even that 15 minutes of Gneppo where every time someone got the ball, he was pressing, tackling. It was like he got Alonso a yellow card and Jorginho a yellow card in the space of like 2 minutes, because he just nipped the ball away from him and bolted on past him to the point where they had to trip him to stop a counter attack. Like that, we didn't have anybody really with that spark. I think the best opportunity we had post penalty was what led to the eventual free kick that Alonso just smashed into the wall. Was that opportunity where
Mason up his day, really, didn't it?
Yeah,
when he's playing better, he would get that up over the wall. I'm not saying get it in, but he would do a better effort than that.
Yeah, it's very rare because he's not a player who will try and get up and down and over the wall. He's somebody who will try and curl it into the corner, so he'll put a bit of height on it and let it float in. But yeah, like you said, it's straight into right in the middle of the wall. Obviously, knowing his history of where he's going to go, McCarthy took very central stance of the goal, and I think he was just a bit of lacking confidence, a bit of just fear in him that he didn't back himself to be able to put it in the corner, and a bit shaky. But obviously, I know winning the free kick was ideal rather than him taking a pop shot on his right foot. But like you said, it just summarised the game. We just didn't really have an idea of what we wanted to do and when we wanted to do it. But it wasn't fantastic.
No, positive for me though. I thought N'Golo Kante was superb, particularly first half. Second half, he didn't quite get in the game as much, but he was just everywhere first half. There were many positives in my opinion today, but he was certainly one of them. Yeah,
definitely. It's the lack of positives obviously are disheartening going into the fixtures, like particularly midweek. But yeah, Kante, he's only been back a few games. He's obviously lacking match fitness. He's lacking just adapting to the situation, especially with a new manager, new formation, new players to play with. Although he's played with people like Alonso and Kovacic and Zuma, Christensen and whatever, they haven't really been in the side when he's been in the side the last few years. Obviously, last year, Tomori played quite a lot, and then players come in, and Kante's obviously unfortunately been injured quite a lot, but he did look good. He was back to what we'd seen him as before. Obviously, playing in the Cup against Barnsley, I wasn't very impressed with the way he played, but obviously it was his first proper start back. But yeah, today he looked great. He was everywhere. It was just unfortunate that he needed to be everywhere against a team that we really should have comfortably handled. And for the second time this season, they've given us a much tougher game than they have years previous. So it's just not ideal.
Yeah,
some would say.
No, I think the only other positive I can think of the game was Tammy Abraham getting taken off at half time.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, another thing people were getting to know over a period of time is your dislike. I wouldn't say hatred. I'd say dislike for Tammy Abraham and what you believe he doesn't actually offer to the game. And yeah, I totally agree. I think that's it. What's the second time in a row he's been taken off at half time by Tuchel? Like I'm confused now why he's starting him. Like, yeah, he got the goal in the cup, but
Giroud's got a goal in the other day.
Yeah, and
Why not go for him?
Well, yeah, Tammy comes off injured. He gets taken off at half time. Then he comes off injured before the first half's even over, and he comes off at half time again. It's just it's just a harrowing testimony to what he does in the game. But in that formation, he doesn't provide anything extra to the game, and it's just a bit disappointing, really. Obviously, with the amount of goals he's scored, if you were just purely to look at that, you think he's having a good season. But if you really look at his overall performances, there's not much there for him. Not anything
I
that stands out.
I did feel for him because there was definitely a lack of service today. Don't get me wrong. We couldn't break down Saints or sort of get the ball in their final third, but I do feel even when the ball did get to him, he wasn't getting in behind. He wasn't holding the ball up. So, I did feel for him, but I'm not surprised he got taken off at half time.
Yeah, we were missing that killer ball, which it pains me to say, but we could have done with Jorginho a lot earlier. Just to, like you said, he was egging Zuma on to get forward and move the ball around a little bit quicker. And like Jorginho is the sort of player who will try and move the ball around a little bit, spread the play out, spread everything out for the team, and it's not ideal really for us to be without anybody who's going to play and be direct and get the ball and move it forward, more direct, and just add in something a little bit different. And like previously, particularly in the games before Frank sadly left us, he was very negative in his play, playing it back quite a lot. But since Tuchel's come in, he's been one of the most impressive performers for him, getting the ball forward, sort of egging the team to move the ball a little bit more. And maybe he's a bit more comfortable in the tactics with a 3 or 5 at the back. Obviously, that's a very common formation in Italy. It's probably what he would have played at Napoli. And he can be a bit more free. His defensive responsibilities are diminished a lot. And he just becomes sort of a deep playmaker opposed to a playmaker who's got to come back and chase everything. Like you said, he had Kante playing with him, and he just chases everything, which leaves Jorginho to just roam and be at his best like he was when he first signed for us. Just moving the ball around, just being helpful, like supporting the attack, but not having to be that player getting in the box, sort of similar to Cesc when Cesc was playing for us. He just sits there and he just dictates the game. He pulls all the strings, and he's not asked to come back and put a slide tackle in on the edge of the box, where he's not asked to be darting into the box to get like a late run and tap the ball in. Like he's moving the game around. So I thought Jorginho could have been introduced a little bit earlier. And other than that, it's not much really to take out of the game. Like obviously we go again in the week, but I think the next thing we really need to talk about is Callum Hudson-Odoi comes on at half time.
Yeah,
for Tammy.
I was going to say, did you get a stat of the match, or because I've got one which obviously links to our next part, but I didn't know if you had one or not.
I did. Yep. So Mason Mount today has become the 25th separate penalty taker for Chelsea to score in the Premier League, which is the most since the inception of the Premier League. So we've had 25 different players take penalties for us and score. Obviously, we've probably had a few that have missed. But 25 different penalty takers to score for Chelsea in the league. And bearing in mind for the best part of the 2000s through to the mid-2010s, our number one penalty taker was Frank. And then Frank leaves and Hazard takes them all the time. So you think pre-2000, 2003, 2004, first 10 years, we wouldn't have had that many different penalty takers. But I'll have to, obviously for the next episode, I will try find the list of the full 25, but I did see that on Twitter. There was 25 different scorers from the penalty spot for Chelsea. Yeah,
that would be very badgery. So my stat of the match links on to links on to what we are going to talk about. So the last person to be subbed on and then subbed back off for Chelsea before today was also Callum Hudson-Odoi. Poor bloke. So I do feel sorry for him a little bit because he's played brilliantly since I think it was Arsenal away. So what was that, Boxing Day? He was brilliant when he came on that day. he got a goal or assist that day, and then he got a goal against City. I know it was in a losing cause, but nonetheless. Then obviously, sadly, Frank left us. But then since Tommy's come in, he's played wing back. He's played what seems to me striker. He's played right wing, left wing. He's all over the shop, out of position, out of his comfort zone. So I'm not sure. Do you think it was fair for Tommy to have done what he did today and what he said about the decision?
Do I think it's fair based on obviously all the things you've listed, probably being the most impactful player we've had since the new manager's come in? No, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it was ideal to be wasting a substitute on somebody who's relatively fresh in the side. I think there could have been alternative provisions made, a different formation put in. Obviously, we've got a young fullback who's versatile in Reece James. We've got Azpilicueta who's versatile. We could have switched to a back four, had Ziyech in a front three with Cal and Timo, and stuck three in midfield with Mason, Kante, and then eventually Jorginho. But instead of taking Alonso off, we left him on for 90 minutes, and Cal comes off. And obviously, him saying that he didn't like his press and he didn't like his effort for the game, I think it's a bit unfair because that's not natural to him. So he can pull it off.
That's why I think it's a bit harsh, because he's played him out of his comfort zone in loads of positions, and then to say that they didn't like his attitude and effort when he's, in my opinion, showed like impeccable attitude and effort when playing as a wing back, which I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think he would be able to do. But fair play to him. He was brilliant in it in against Burnley, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but Burnley, he was untouchable.
But he interestingly enough said that against Atletico, he would not rule him out to start. Is that him? Is that maybe a reason why he started on the bench today? Do you reckon that he plans to play him, or do you reckon he's just saying that to try and sort of look a bit better in the media?
I don't know. It's the having him on the bench today, obviously after starting the majority of the games since he's come in. It's again with what we've spoken about before, where he just tweaks and tweaks and tweaks and nothing's set. Like I doubt we've had a starting 11 start 2 games altogether for him. So it's just tweaking. I thought it was just very disrespectful taking him off like that, not giving him time. He is an impact player. Realistically, we had options on the bench in a variety of positions. Obviously, Ziyech has not been in the best of forms. But like our bench, we had Emerson, Giroud. We could have brought Chilwell on and taken Alonso off. Or what? Obviously, we didn't have Pulisic on the bench today. But that I find like we had weird backs on the bench. So why would we bring on a winger, one of our two like wide attacking options, just to take him off for the other one? Obviously, I know he expected Cal to put in the effort and do all this stuff before, but he's benched him already. So obviously, he's thinking something before the game. I feel that's what it suggests. There is something before the game that must have gone on for him to be benched. Why didn't he bring on Ziyech at halftime then instead? Instead of realistically, he's embarrassed Cal. He's come on for half an hour and been taken off. Like it's potentially the worst substitution of the game, and Southampton brought somebody on when the additional time was over. Like it was over. There was no time left to him. He played 30 seconds extra, and they brought a lad on then. But I think like Callum coming off was even more embarrassing. Redmond, that was it. It was Nathan Redmond comes on off in the 94th minute, and that young lad comes on, and even then, he's played 30 seconds and Cal played 30 minutes, and it's more embarrassing being brought on and brought off again for the second time in his career, as you previously mentioned.
He wasn't happy when he went off. I remember him kicking a bottle over. I just thought it was quite interesting how sort of honest Tuchel was in his post-match interview, really. I know when Frank was sort of, you could tell it's the end of his tenure. He didn't quite call the players out as such, but you could tell he was calling them out if you get my drift. And he got criticism for that. Tuchel's 6 games in, and he's already done that. I mean, personally, I don't mind it, but I know a number of other football fans, Chelsea fans, who won't rate that, especially towards a young player.
Yeah, it's maybe it's just he's looking for an accountability. He's looking for people to own up. He's looking for Cal to turn around and say, right, I didn't put a shift in the way I normally put a shift in. It's time for me to improve. I didn't do what I was sent out there to do. He brought me off, let me know, let everybody know. He didn't even just let Cal know before he probably even spoke to Cal about it. But that was the first question they were going to ask. That's what you had the commentators on BT. All they were saying was, oh, well, I'm sure we'll find out why he's taking him off, blah, blah, blah. So his first thing is go out and tell everybody, and it'll be all over the back pages of the paper tomorrow about him being taken off, being ripped a new one, essentially, got a new coach who's relied on him quite a lot. So it sort of just sends a message potentially to any player. Like, if you don't do your job, then nobody's safe. Like, anyone can get it, really. Like the cliche, like anyone can get it. Anybody can be brought off.
Well, especially because Cal's probably, after Mason Mount, our second most informed player, I'd say. So if he's done that to him, I think he can do it to anyone.
Yeah, look at Mason. Mason didn't even start the first game for him, did he? He comes in with a completely new side. Mason Mount doesn't even start. Giroud comes on off the bench. Didn't expect to come on in the 20th odd minute. 10 minutes later, he scores against Newcastle, and he doesn't even get a start today. Tammy gets a start after doing sweet FA the whole time. Like, he hasn't done anything since to prove he should start for Tuchel yet. And every game, he's getting a start. He's getting a start. We're not switching the formation up to just leave Timo up top by himself and maybe get Cal and Ziyech into the side. And it's a shame, really. But I think it is a message to him, especially as a young player, that he can go out and he needs to do the job he's told to do. And if he doesn't do it, the boss will bring him off. Like, he's got no loyalty to any of those players because he's not the only one who really has any.
As we've seen, like he could. There's a chance. There's probably statistically he probably will be gone within like 2 years from now. So he's not there to make friends, is he?
Yeah, which is the best way. There's a lot of players who have loyalties to certain managers, and like, I love Frank more than anything in the world. Obviously, being a lifelong Chelsea fan, it's impossible to dislike anything about Frank, him as the manager, as a player, anything. But he had a loyalty towards Tomori, he had a loyalty towards Mount, Tammy, all the young English players, and I think, like, particularly with Tomori as well, he had a great start to last season and then was shocking after that, really. He was a nothing player, and hence why he's not played this season. He's out on loan in Milan. But, like, Tuchel, the only player he knows and has any loyalty to is Pulisic. And, like, he's started for him, but he's not afraid to take him off just because he signed him.
And Thiago Silva,
him one of the young... Well, yeah, and Thiago Silva. But, like, Pulisic, Thiago Silva was there when he signed at PSG, but like, he went out of his way to get Pulisic at Dortmund. He was what that brought him into the side, started him.
Debut, did he? Yeah.
He did give him his debut. He was there building him up from the start. Thiago Silva was a well-established, world-class centre-back at the time. Like, any manager will have respect for players like that. But he's just sort of sent a message, and I think he's sending a message with all his tweaks and changes and everything, that nobody's safe. If you don't do your job, then you're out. You're out of the team. If somebody can do your job better than you, don't matter how many games they've played this season, don't matter if the old boss liked them or not, they'll be in. I think the only player safe, really, aside from Thiago Silva, I think, is Mount. I think he's the only one safe. It's even looked like Kepa coming in for Mendy. Kepa was atrocious for us for such a long time, but he's getting everybody's got a new lease of life. And they've got a couple of chances. And then once he's established a reliable group of players for him, don't matter how well you play before that, you'd be out. You'd be out of the side, really.
Absolutely, mate. I'm actually quite hoping he does start him on Tuesday night against Atletico, because I think Cal will be very hungry to prove a point. And I think that's what we needed today, a bit of hunger. I felt we turned up there a bit like, oh, we're going to win. Or to get something out of this without even trying. So if I think he really has to start for me on Tuesday night against a very, very good Atletico Madrid side who, I mean, albeit they did lose today 2-0 at home to, I think, Levante, and they dropped points against Levante on Wednesday. But they've only lost twice all season in La Liga, including today, and the other time was Real Madrid. So they're going to be tricky opposition. How do you see that one panning out?
Well, obviously, with them losing today, it was ideal. Not necessarily for us, but going into a tie, which was meant to be a home tie for them, but obviously we've been relocated to Bucharest in Romania.
Yeah, I think that's
I'm
right.
pretty
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we're playing in Romania. It's not at their home ground, which obviously they rarely lose at. They lost there today, but it's a weird fixture. I know, obviously, the home field advantage thing for teams this season, especially in the Premier League, is out the window. But for them to score an own goal like midway through to like mid towards the end of the first half, and then like the game's pretty much lost as it is. They're going into the final minute of extra time, and like following a counter attack, they concede again that late. It pans out hopefully well for us because it's come from they've brought everybody up for a corner, they've pushed for everything, and
Yeah.
yeah, he's gone down. Keeper's out. Keeper's out. I don't know if you've seen the goal. The
Yeah, I
last one
did.
they
Yeah, I
conceded.
did. Oblak was up
Yeah.
for the corner.
Oh
Great
yeah,
finish,
and
to be
then
fair. I know it's an open goal,
yeah,
but he didn't run it in, did he? Still
yeah,
had a lot
well,
to do.
yeah, and they've obviously added different dynamics to the team. Obviously, the signing of Moussa Dembele from Lyon adds a bit of a
Yep.
different dynamic. With obviously Suarez being in form of his life, it seems he's gone back to the form. Obviously, he had a few good years at Barca, but really the peak of Suarez's career was that season he had for Liverpool with Sturridge, and when Brendan Rodgers was in charge, when they came ever so close, only to pardon the pun, fall at the last hurdle with the
Yeah.
game against us, and obviously that draw there with Crystal Palace. But he is playing out of his mind at the minute,
Well, yeah,
and
I've
if
just got it up in front of me. He is top goal scorer in the league, and that
yeah,
is a prime example of a player playing with something to prove.
yeah, and obviously they've got more substitutes available to them in La Liga. Looking now at the match report, they made 4 substitutes today, bringing Correa, Kondogbia, Koke, and Jimenez off, and bringing on Torreira, obviously from Arsenal, Dembele, Lamar, who was a big money signing, who really hasn't done much for them, and
No, he hasn't,
Ricard
has he?
Sanchez, who have not really heard much of before. But like João Felix is misfiring at the minute. I think he's gone quite a few games since he's scored a goal. Obviously, starting on
Yep.
PT, won Player of the Month
Oh no. Now
a
you've
fair
said
few
that.
months ago.
Now you've said that. Oh no. I know who
Yeah,
I'd put a bet on to score now.
yeah, yeah. I know it could
Uh,
be cursing it, but like he's gone without a little while. Obviously, you know Oblak's record. Everybody sort of has an
yep.
idea about it. That he has something like more clean sheets than goals conceded. Like defensively, they're a very stout team, and Levante are that sort of team who are dropping down into the second tier of Spanish football and coming back up, or hovering around the bottom half of the league more often than not. And they've done them twice in a week. So the poor form leading up to the game is great for us, and this is probably the worst performance we've had
Absolutely.
in the last 5 or 6 games since Tuchel took over. So I'm looking
Yeah.
hopeful. I think it'll be a very cagey game, and it just
Same.
depends what sort of Atletico Madrid team turns up. If the team that they had today turns up against us, we could be in for a good result there. But if they go back to what they've been leading up to this point, then we could be in quite a bit of trouble defensively, especially if we're without Thiago Silva. What do you think? Looking forward
Absolutely.
to the game.
Uh, Yeah, I do think it'll be an interesting one. I think they actually do line up very similar to us. I do think they play like a 3-5-1-2 or something like similar. Um, the positives I think we can look is that really other than today and that goal we conceded, we haven't really looked like conceding at all under Tuchel. So defensively, I think we'll be all right against them. But we saw what they did last year against Liverpool. Not part of the bus, but were defensively very sound. And then they just beat them on the counter attack 3 times from Liverpool mistakes. So that's the only thing I'm scared of. Will we be able to break them down? And I mean, watching today's performance, I'm not hopeful, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because like the form they're currently in, and obviously when the tie was made, we were the first team sort of viewed as doomed. Like, we're out definitely in the next round. That'll be it for the European football for the season, and then we just have to look forward to next year. But
Yeah,
it's again, every quality team has a blip. We had one today. They had one today. It'll be
yeah,
good to see how we perform in European football. And I mean, the last year or so for Tuchel has obviously been a bit strange, but it's less than a year since he's been to the Champions League final. So potentially he could bring
yeah,
us to the promised
exactly.
land. It won't be the first boss to come
No,
later on in the season to take us far in the Champions League. Obviously with Di Matteo in 2012. It
yeah,
would
I
be
think did
interesting to
Avram
see.
Grant do the same? Did he take over from
Uh,
Mourinho and take
yes,
us there? Was that the year after?
I believe that was a year after. I think Mourinho went in 07, and it was the 08 final where we played United.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
think you
it's
could be right.
it just depends, obviously, on which version of both the teams turn up. If we turn up like on top form, we press from the start, and we just keep attacking, and we just go for it. Like, we don't hold back. We
Yeah,
just keep going at them. Then maybe we pull ahead 1 or 2, 3 goals. We've got the potential. We have the quality, but it all just seriously depends on like what we have going forward. Defensively,
yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
I'm
I
worried,
agree.
but I'm more concerned about what we have going forward, because today we scored from the penalty spot. But other than that, like, going forward,
Yeah.
we didn't have much going for us.
See, for me,
We didn't
when
have
the
any
draw came
threat.
out, I was extremely hopeful. I think we were top of the league, to be fair, at the time or whatnot. But either way, it was more of the fact we just demolished Sevilla 4-0 for me. And I thought, do you know what? Sevilla, when they played at Stamford Bridge against us in October or November, whenever it was, they were a very good team. So to go and beat them in their place 4-0, I thought we could take anyone who finished second in their group. Obviously, Atletico were the hardest out of them, but I was still confident at the time. And it's just amazing how in like 2 or 3 months how the tables have turned. And I think at the time probably we were playing such good football. I think we would have gone in as favourites. I think now, for me, Atletico are favourites. But it'll be an interesting game. I also think Man United will sort of be a similar game. I think it'll be a cagey one as well. Them being just a sort of, what are they, 5 points ahead of us? I
Uh,
think they'll be just coming to Stamford Bridge saying, look, we're not losing. Point win, but we're not losing. So I
yeah,
think that'll be a very much similar game next week. Unfortunately, today it feels like we've lost a bit of momentum. If we'd gone in next week just 3 points behind them, I think the pressure's on them, not us. In my opinion, I know we'd be playing at home, but I think the pressure would be on them to sort of stay in that position. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one next week.
yeah, definitely. Looking forward to that. United being 3 points ahead of us, we beat them. We'll be level on games with them, and pending their result tomorrow will depend on how many points separate us. But again, United have been playing quite well at the minute. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes has been class this season, a big threat, especially through that midfield. So we will need somebody like Kante to be on the top of his game, tracking Bruno's
Yeah,
runs, making sure he can't dictate the game. He has been so much this year. And we've just got to look for our identity going forward. I feel like we don't really have one, and we need to figure out our identity. What do we do? Are we slow build up and break him down, or are we put the ball in behind and let Timo and Cal and Pulisic make those runs, and have somebody? Unfortunately, I know you don't like to hear it, but somebody like Tammy there to clean everything up and get the tap ins as he does so often. But looking forward to the Atletico game. I'm pretty sure they'll be without Saul for the game. I'm near enough certain he's injured for an extended period of time. He wasn't in the
It's
squad
a big
today,
blow.
so yeah, that's
Big
a
blow.
massive blow. Obviously, Arsenal reject Torreira coming off the bench today. I wouldn't be as worried about him dictating the game as I would Saul.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed. Arsenal rejects just got me there.
Yeah,
I do think he's a good player, though, to be fair to Torreira. I was a bit disappointed. Disappointed, maybe the wrong way to put it, but I think he had potential for Arsenal. But clearly, who was it? Unai Emery or Arteta? It was, wasn't it? It thought differently, but
yeah. He immediately thought, "Yep, bring Party in, Torreira out." But yeah, there's another one, another player missing from the squad today, Carrasco, who's obviously in quite good form. Another player missing. We've really just got to take our opportunities when they come to us. We're very much
absolutely,
wasting opportunities. There are a lot of
definitely.
times where going forward, there's so much more to be. It was like the opportunity leading up to the free kick today. We can get away with that against a team like Southampton and not worry as much about losing. We're more worried about drawing. That's not a good result for us. But teams like Atletico and United will make us pay for mistakes like that, especially at that point in the game where we fought from behind. We were behind for 20, 25 minutes, get a penalty. That could have been an opportunity to take the game by the scruff of the neck and plough on and get a goal there and one more. But it wasn't a great run from Timo. Then a bit, obviously, Mason Mount was fouled and Alonso just waited. He didn't even think about shooting. He just waited for his opportunity for the free kick. So we need to be a bit more clinical, especially against teams who really will make us pay for it.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely, it's certainly going to be a tough week.
Yeah, and we've got to think realistically about this. That two draws wouldn't be the worst thing in the world in the next week or
No,
so.
I completely agree.
And we've just got to hope, especially with the Champions
It
League
does
tie.
depend for me a little bit how Man United set up. If they set up, I say properly, like they would every week, I think it could be tricky because I think they'll get us on the counter. But I know a couple of times this year, Ollie's messed about with a 4-1-2-1-2, which I don't want to jinx it, but I don't think that suits them really. But you know, I think if they set up in that, I think they're there to be had. But I'd take a point if you gave me a point now. I think I would take a point.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
can I to sort of start to end off on the podcast? Can I ask for your score predictions for first Atletico and then Manchester United down at Stamford Bridge?
I'm going to be a bit pessimistic about the Champions League tie. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. It'll be
Taken away goal though.
yeah, definitely. That's what I'm thinking. We get an away goal, we set up solid, and we do what Southampton tried to do to us today. Every time we give the
Yeah,
ball away, we just send people forward. We
yeah,
send everybody forward. People make darting runs into the box. We don't have time for like today. Often Alonso and like this. This is I think another criticism of Cal today, which obviously I don't like to give out. We just sort of just hugging the touchline, like when you need to be darting in, you need to be getting into the. And Alonso and Hudson-Odoi are two players that do that very well, of just making diagonal runs straight into the box. So I'll say a 1-1, and then United. I'm gonna be hopeful for that one, and I'm gonna say we're sneak a 2-1 win in the league and bring us a bit more secure in the top four and a bit closer to them. What do you reckon, mate?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I'm gonna go for 0-0 on Tuesday. I'd love a 1-1, but I'm gonna go for 0-0. I think it's gonna be a very cagey game, like we said earlier. Um, and then for next week, I'm actually gonna go for 1-1. I'm gonna go for 1-1 versus Man United. Not being
Yeah,
pessimistic, but I think there will be two teams, two of the harder teams I think we'll face this year to break down. So yeah,
yeah. We've just got hope for
right. I think that
the Harry Maguire mistakes we've seen and hope we
absolutely,
benefit from
mate.
one of those.
Absolutely, mate. I'm not a big fan of his. So hopefully he will he'll show why I think he's such an average defender.
Yep, definitely, mate. Definitely.
Right, well, I think that pretty much rounds up the first episode of the True Blues podcast. Thanks for joining me, Kieran. If you,
no
the
worries,
listeners,
mate.
have enjoyed what you've heard here tonight on Saturday evening, please support our channel from giving us a subscribe. Subscribe to our channel or follow us on social media, and hopefully see you next week on the True Blues podcast.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.